Estate Agency X, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business, with hosts Mark Burgess and Rob Brady.
Welcome to this episode of Estate Agency X. Today I'm talking to Laura Howey from Love Property. She's come down from the cold north of England. Or would you consider it the north?
Yorkshire is definitely
north. Definitely north. North Yorkshire is definitely north. I get told off for calling Milton Keynes north. So on this episode, I'm catching up with Laura because she's had such a transformational experience in her business over the years that I've known her, from one whereby they're struggling for fees, they're struggling for listings, they're just trying to make a living, to one now whereby she doesn't really need to work in the business. She gets paid, she lives the life she wants, she's got people that do the valuing, she's got people that look after the lettings, they've got an incredible experience, they charge more for their work than they ever have done before. So I want to really dig into her, like, where does all of that come from and how has she managed to figure all of that out? Okay, Laura, thanks for coming. I was going to say coming back. Oh, you've been on the show before, obviously.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the journey all the way down from the middle of nowhere back down to London, defrosting on the way down. So to start us off, are you all right just to give us a quick background? I don't know how long you've been in a estate agency, a bit about your company, and then we'll sort of pick it all up from there.
So I've been in this estate agency. I'm getting to the part I don't tell people how this, because it's really dating me that it'll be 17 years in February. So
You've been in it since you were 5.
Yeah. So and the company, my company's Love Property. We now are emotionally marketing people's houses to enhance the value. And we manage that. Relationship management is a huge part of what we do. So I'd like to think that we really set ourselves apart from the traditional vision of what estate agency was, and stepping into something a little bit more progressive, which kind of reflects the emotional investment that people have made in their homes when they come to selling.
Love it. Okay. Now, there'll be some people that know you and are listening thinking like, yeah, and that's amazing. And Laura and Love probably do that brilliantly. And I guess there'll be some people listening thinking like, oh, what does any of that mean? Like, so let's just, I don't know, go back a little bit. You first opened your estate agency with another business partner to start with. And the goal back then, I guess, was just to make a bit of money?
Yeah, so it was the property recession 2008. I was an independent financial advisor and I had 2 very, very young children and quite a rocky home life. So I needed a bit of a stable income, and I did toy with the fact that I was going to go back into corporate banking, was what I was going to do. And I'd had a particularly poor experience when selling my home, then becoming a first-time landlord. Both experiences were particularly terrible, using 2 different ends of the country and 2 very different kinds of agents. So I thought, well, actually, is there something that I can do that's different? I met the person that I set up business with. She was a really good estate agent, very young, very progressive, interested in moving things forward. And I was like, right, she can teach me how to be an estate agent. The sales bit I already know. And actually, the experience that I had is not what I would ever want anyone else to have. So as long as I'm not doing that, I think we'll be all right. So that's kind of what kicked it off. And I thought, as long as we've got enough money to cover a wage, so I didn't have to go back into corporate banking, I could manage my hours and fit in around my kids taking on the school run every day. That was literally all that I wanted to do when I started out. That was the goal.
And that was, what year was that?
2009, we actually age-trimmed on Valentine's Day.
And then is it fair to say that for the following 10 years, you know, just sort of plugged away and fulfilled that idea of having a salary, and that your sort of job was your business and your business was your job?
Yeah, and I think it, especially the first maybe 2 to 5 years, it's just about, is this even a business that's got a future? Is this something that can even make any money? Is it something where we set up was quite a rural area in North Yorkshire? So what's the potential here? There's a lot of traditional values, traditional thoughts. We were doing things a little bit differently, so it's not always accepted by everybody. So it was a little bit of a challenge on that basis. So it was just a matter of, can we move forward with this at all, really? And actually, it was probably 2 years before we were taking reasonable money out of it, which was not, literally coming pay our bills. And it was quite a long time before we were doing that.
Okay. And then if we fast forward, we'll go back again, but if we fast forward to now, you've got a business. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but just, so you fill in the gaps here. You've got, if I say anything wrong, you've got a business that's charging fees you didn't think were possible in their area. You aren't doing the valuations. You aren't working in the business every day.
Yeah.
And it runs how you pretty much, within reason, always dreamed it would.
Yeah.
So now let's go back again. Like, how the fuck did you do that? I mean, like, anyone that's listening is now thinking to themselves, like, right, I'm familiar with the first bit, scrapping away, starting a business, not getting paid. I'm familiar with the middle, messy middle, as Rob puts it, about maybe I could start to get a bit organised, get some staff, get this, and then you have like the roller coaster months where everybody gets paid except you do. But then you sort of get past that, but you're still ingrained in the business. We're talking about small estate agencies here, 1 to 5 branches, even 1 to 10.
And mine's one branch.
Yeah.
It's not
Right.
like
And even when we met, which was probably a decade ago, if around that sort of time anyway, I can remember clearly you saying to me, you don't understand. It is not possible to charge any more than, whatever that amount of money was back then in our area. So what's happened?
mindset. Totally mindset. That's all it comes down to, is, am I limiting my future by the way I'm thinking? And absolutely I was, because all I've done, the only thing that's changed is my vision for the future and the way I think about it. Nothing else has changed. So I've just thought, right, well, why can't I do that? Why can't people in my area, people with smaller houses, want to pay a bit more money and have a better service? Why can't I be that person for them? I don't want volume. I don't want all the stock. I don't even look at a pie chart. I don't even know who's listing what I'm right with. I'm not interested. As long as my numbers are okay, my valuations are coming in, that's all I'm interested in. I can work for everybody. There's not enough time per day to do what we do for everybody.
Okay, so now, obviously, Rob is a massive believer in mindset as well, and I know that you've also just done one crazy race, like the crazy running race, like the sort that Rob does. So used to obviously on the same wavelength where it comes to it's mind over matter, right? But let's just bring it back down again for a second, because it's not just mind over matter, is it? Like, you couldn't have just turned around with what you had back then, the service you were offering, the things you were doing, and just go, you know what? I just changed my mind about it. Like, you must have thought, I can be better. I just have to, I don't know, do some stuff I worked. Did you have to, have you got a different company now? Why it works?
No, it's exactly the same. And I think,
same offering, and everything.
I think it's culturally, you have to, it's really hard to explain, but you need to get everybody aligned in the mindset of what the goal is. You cannot micromanage every situation, every phone call that comes in, every situation that's going to happen, everything that doesn't go how you want it to. You cannot micromanage that, but you can sell the dream of the open sea, and then everybody will help you come and build the boat. That's the thing that you can do.
How many people have you got since you started that transition? How many people have you got working with you now that were back when you started that shift over?
One.
One. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's because like it just see like, you know, we like to talk about leadership from the point of view of like, you know, empowering your staff and giving people a nice place to work and, you know, all of that side of things. But I guess there's also the element of like, well, when you go to war and you decide like this is how it's going to be, you're either coming or you're not coming. There's got to be an element of that, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think it is really difficult with people. I hear business owners all the time, and it's a big frustration in my mind. They say, I can't get the right people, or people won't do this, or people won't do that, and oh, they're terrible, and this is happening, and this is happening. And I just think every problem you have in your business is a leadership problem, every single one. You need to hold the mirror up and look at yourself and think, what am I doing to either improve, or how have I created this situation? And I think that's the same with everything in life in general, but particularly in your business.
Yeah.
You know, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, you're like,
You've attracted these people.
Yeah.
You've employed them. You've brought them into.
you told them the
You've told them. You told them what's going on. So actually, it's like the only thing that's going wrong is what you're telling them. So, and if they, you know, I mean, it's like the situation, isn't it? You need to have a vision for the future. And if everybody's not on board with that vision for the future, they need to get off the bus.
Yeah.
And you need to get some other people on.
Like when you look at from the outside perspective and looking at your brand is different to the brand that you had 5, 6, 7 years ago. So has been a shift. You can see the qualityness of it.
And you're the sole owner of the business now. Well, I guess that makes it.
The vision was the dream of what you wanted to achieve there, and some of the stuff you've acted on yet. And I think many agency owners probably don't necessarily have that vision. It's just like, just get by next month. We'll sell some houses.
I was talking to an agency owner just last week who said to me, I can see, but obviously, we're talking about life cycle, for instance. He said, I can see this is the future. I can see that we need this. But I can't get my staff on board just yet. We might have to revisit it sort of later in the year. And I was saying to him, like, just let's take life cycle out of it for a minute, because obviously I'm pretty biased on that side of things. But you can see this is the right way for the company to go, and some of your staff don't agree, and so you're going to just crash the boat into the rocks. Like your one fucking job. You can see where the company's supposed to go.
You're going to think that
You're supposed to steer it there and take everybody with you, but because they can't be asked to go in that direction, you're just going to go, yeah, fuck it, let's all go into the box together. That's mad when you look at it, though, isn't it?
It is.
But it is harder in real life because, you know, you have got team members that you rely on that you don't necessarily see eye to eye with, and you know that you're going to cause yourself a lot of short-term pain if you have to replace those people, or maybe you feel that it's not what's the word, loyalty, like, you know, you've got some loyalty to people that have been there for a certain amount of time, but either way they're steering you towards the rocks, and you can see that that's happening, right?
Yeah. And I think it's like, what's stopping you doing it now? Like, what is stopping you? Why are these people stopping you doing what needs to be done? It's not a matter of railroading people, but it's actually, if your vision is that clear and that powerful, why would they want you to not achieve it? Why would they not want to achieve it for themselves? Why would they not want to be part of something that's going in a direction, being the best that it can be in your area or in our industry? Or why? What would possibly be the reasons for that? And actually, if they just don't want to work in that industry, absolutely fair enough. It's not going to be for everyone. But ultimately, I think the thing is that lack of clear vision is ultimately the thing that stops people progressing, because if you don't know where you're going, you will never get in that.
Yeah.
Absolutely never get in that.
Do you think, when you look back now, that was something then that was missing out of the company for quite a period of time?
100%. And I think the problem is as well, people are scared of the vision. They're scared to say, I want to be X or I want to do this, because they're like, well, if I don't get that, I'm a failure. And it's, I don't know, maybe there's other reasons that people don't want to do that or don't want to say what they're going to do or try and achieve stuff. I mean, it's like doing anything.
Maybe it's that they struggle to identify what the actual vision is.
And that may be, I don't know. I can only speak to myself and my own fears about thinking, well, that's too big.
If I'd have just said to you, though, like, whatever it was, 8-9 years ago, you just need a vision. Like, you'd have gone, like, thanks for that help, Mark. And it's just gone back to, I'm back beyond the wall up north. I'm back, like,
Yorkshire.
whatever. Like, let's find someone else who can help us actually help us. Yeah. So, like, it's more than that, isn't it? Because, like, I remember, like, the moment that we were together and you decided you were going to start making stretch goals for yourself, and this whole journey started. It's not, and that is vision as well, but what else? Like, someone sitting there going, like, I've got a vision, still not fucking.
I think a problem is, from what I see a lot of people, is when you speak to a vision, it's a lot of the time it's copied off something else. I'm going to copy off this agent, or I'm going to copy off this company, and it's not core to the actual business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, your transitions, that has shifted massively. Like, you're now the sole owner of the business. The branding looks completely different. You've got new teams that work underneath you. So, like, I think people, like that vision has taken to its fruition.
It's knowing your why as well. Like, people go, oh, I want to turn over 2 million a year. What for?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with that? Like it's like fake things. It's not real.
Want to be the best estate agent in the
what is the best, isn't it?
Yeah,
let's quantify what is the best. Does that mean selling the most? Does that mean selling for the highest figures? Does that mean you employ the most? I don't know. What does that mean? It's like
something tangible was actually moved.
It's just, you need,
and that's where the team then come along with it, because there's an alignment to that. Like you've said it before, we always have those conversations. We say, like, where do you want to go in your life? You identify. So as you're growing Iceberg, the team members are growing with you, because they see when we get to this particular thing, this is what unlocks, not just do some stats, do some data.
You've got to know what that's haven't you? Like
goals.
Even when we first met, where do you want to go? What do you want to do in life? If you'd have said to me, like, well, I've got dreams of, I don't know, owning yachts and being a billionaire, then, like, I've gone, that's fucking awesome. Like, I mean, I don't know how I can help, but getting a job here ain't going to help you. But, like, I'm having to help.
Yeah.
But, like, everything's got to somehow align, hasn't it? I think you've hit the nail on the head there with, like, the fluffiness of it, because a vision is a bit fluffy in a way. But even if you took it down from there to, like, mission or a 3-year goal or something that's just a bit more tangible than, like, this strap line that's supposed to sound nice, and just something where the fuck are you supposed to be in 3 years? And then you can start moving towards it at speed, because without that, everything sounds great. Like, it's nice for refurbishing the office. It's brilliant. But it might be irrelevant if you knew what your 3-year goal was. It's nice, like, putting a new software in, but who gives a shit?
And if you look at everything, if you have a really focused goal, 5, 10 year, whatever it is, work backwards from that. So if in 10 years I wanted to have 10 shops, what was 9 years, 6 months? What was I doing? At 9 years, what was I doing to get there? At 8 years, what did I have to do to get there? Because I guarantee it is not what you're doing right now.
I saw a post on social the other day that actually ties in with it quite nice, where someone said, like, if someone followed you around for the week, would they think that you were actually serious about your goals?
So true.
Mate, was it done this week?
So I've got a question on that element to it. So, how do I phrase this? So what you tend to find with a lot of people who try and go down this route, saying, I want to remove myself from the business a bit more, have a bit more empowerment to the teams. There's a trade-off, but also you have to have control of the business. But then there's a trade-off to actually release control of the business, knowing you well enough. And the transition you've gone through, like, there was times where we've had those conversations, been present with you, chatting to Mark around, I'm the only person that can do it my way. and I struggle to find the members of staff. And obviously, truth is, obviously, one member of staff left, and there's a new team now. But how did you go through that process? Because that's not an easy process. It's not a business process, it's an individual process to try and release that to empower other members of staff. Like, because there's a lot of people, that's one of the main dominoes I usually tend to find is like, I want to do all this, I've got this vision, but I'm struggling to then try and release this down, so that I'm always going to be the bottleneck of trying to do everything.
Yeah. Always the cork in the process is the one who thinks that they can do something better than everybody else. But the reality of it is that none of us are neuroscientists in this industry. You know, we're doing a job, but I think the reality for me is getting that vision, the goal of what do I want to deliver? What is the experience I want to deliver? Not how do I do it? I mean, yes, I want you to turn up at their house and don't park on the drive, park at, you know, whatever. You've got all this macro obvious stuff, but I'm sorry, if you get my vision and you don't understand that macro stuff, then we're not going to be able to work together anyway. And actually, there is no greater reward I see than actually giving someone the freedom to work under parameters with your vision in mind and seeing them do it better than I could. And that's unreal, to be honest, to just see people. And then how many more people are then getting that experience of what you're trying to deliver? Because I'm one person and I get tired. I need to go on holiday. I need time off. I need a break from it. I've been doing this a long time. So actually bringing new vital people into the industry, giving them my vision and setting them free to go and like, this is the experience we want people to have. These are a few of the parameters that I want you to work to, but actually you go and do how you want to do it. But I want the client to end up with this kind of experience. This is what I want them to take away from it. I want them to have the absolute best experience they can when selling a house. You know, and I want them to have the best experience having someone there to call on all the time, all through the experience. How you do that, that's up to you. We use this photographer, we use this other system, this is how it's going to be presented. So you've given them, they're not just like, oh, right, we're going to change everything. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, how it's done on a macro level, let them do that.
In terms of how they talk and how they act, or like, because like I remember one of the very first things that we ever worked on together was customer journeys. So would you still have a specific customer journey in place? So if you've got so someone can come in, so someone can come in and you can show them the vision. This is what we believe as a company and what we want the rest of the world to believe that we're also trying to achieve. So keep that forefront of your mind. Here's our customer journey on how we keep people happy. Now sprinkle your personality on it if you want, but no need to go outside of it. I'm not asking you to rewrite anything unless you can see a problem.
Yeah, I'll tell you. In which case, we have a gathering every week where the sales team will go, well, this is working, this isn't working. We've had a couple of home sellers ring up and ask this question, so I think we've got a little gap in where we're making a contact there, so we need to kind of give a bit more information. They're coming to me with that.
Yeah, it's pretty mad. It's quite mad, isn't it? Like, you think, but but it is and it isn't. Like, it's basic when you think about it as a business owner.
Yeah,
and like what I'm seeing is like I'm seeing a business owner, and when I met you, I was seeing a financial advisor who owned an estate agency, and that transition is pretty mad because like it's like a basic conversation that we're having. Like, well, of course you would have a vision and a customer journey and a this and that. But I can remember us having those conversations whereby it's like that. So I'm trying to think of, for our listeners maybe, that are just like, why am I not able to do that? I'm trying to think of an agent now that's right. Fucking, they're running a small independent. They're a bit pissed off for whatever reason with their staff and certain members of staff. They feel like they're running around like a lunatic, still working at the weekends, still doing stuff, and they've had their business 10 years and are thinking like, this is not how it was supposed to be paying out. I'm trying to think of some of the main points. I mean, like, I do think a lot of it comes down to, in any business, not just a estate agency, do you charge enough money? Like, how do you get over that? Because like there was a point where you didn't charge enough money to do what you do now.
Yeah, and I think you just have to. Again, that to me that totally comes down to mindset, because if you are losing business on fees, so say you've tried to put your fees up and you getting pushed back all the time, or your fees too high, so we're going to go to someone else. You were not representing value to that person, because I guarantee that anyone anywhere will have a iPad Pro and they'll have paid whatever for that. Well, you could have got something that probably has the same tech in it for 400 quid, but then you're paying 1,500 quid because it comes from Apple.
Yeah.
You see value in that brand. You're not getting better technology, you're paying for a brand. So actually you're paying for the experience and the customer service and that representation. So you need to find the way that your business represents that same value to your customers. They won't care what you're charging, because if they see value and you represent value, and that experience is going to be one that they want and not something that's going to be awful for them, they've all paid for it. And that's where we've changed, is that we will speak to our clients and we'll find out what experience do they want. We're not just turning up at their house and giving them a shopping list of we do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, shut up. No one even wants to know, like, whether you're using a giraffe or a floor plan. Well, who gives a toss? They don't even want an estate agent. That's the actual thing. Everyone in every industry really values what they do, which is fantastic. But the reality of it is that the client doesn't want that. They want the other house. They've got a problem. We're fixing it. Fix it in the best possible way. They'll pay you whatever you want to do it.
I love that. And I know I keep kind of asking a question, but how does someone go about finding that? Because there's so much advice for estate agents on like just basic estate agency. Do you know what I mean? An estate agent tells another estate agent how to do estate agency, and the other estate agent goes, yeah, okay. And then so often online I see we all need to stop charging such low fees. We all need to do this. We don't all need to do it. You need to do it.
Yeah.
And we can all do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, exactly. That's how me works.
Yeah. So how do you do just where does someone go to, is it just a case of opening their mind and exploring more? I mean, they're listening to a podcast if they're listening to this, so they've started.
So the beauty of human beings is that you don't actually need to have an experience to feel like you have an experience. So you can think your way through it. So you can sit there and you can think whatever you want to do. And I think the biggest thing that estate agents can do is niche down and figure out who their clients are. You cannot be everything to everybody. If you want to be a volume agent, fantastic. Charge low fees, get as many people through the door as you can, sell a lot of houses. That's fine. If you want to charge higher fees, figure out what you're charging for. What are your higher fees for? What are you going to deliver to that client, and what are they paying you for? What are the problems that you're going to fix, and tell them what you're fixing. Tell them the problem that you're going to fix. Don't just say we're going to charge higher fees because we think we deserve it. Deserve it for what? Why do you?
Yeah.
And if anyone's pushing back and asking you why, or saying they're not paying it, then you don't deserve it, or you're not representing value for them. So it's find out that niche. And I was exactly the same when I first started doing agency. I was like, I want to work for everybody. I can't make any clients. Anything will do, and but anything will do will not be your client.
Because I remember actually us having that conversation when we were up there, and you were, I think at the time you were going, oh, the agent down the road, they're copying us, and they're charging cheaper fees, and we're never going to achieve that. So that for anyone listening out there, it's not like you're in some affluent area, you've set up a brand, it's just can command the 2%. You actually have done that transition of not only just you've actually gone from being that lower fee agent to actually transitioning to a higher fee.
Fixed fee, lower fee, half of fee, a bit of a fee.
Sorry, just to quickly jump in on that. And have you found through all of those experiments that the fee don't make no fucking difference?
I 100% guarantee to anyone, if anyone wants to ring me and have this conversation, have it. Honestly, I do mentoring for agents together, and the amount of times I have this same conversation with people over and over again about just know your value, know your worth, and don't be afraid to stand up for that.
The bit that I've noticed a shift in you was every time I meet you and you say about your minimum fee, you actually say in monetary terms.
Yeah.
And you stop saying, I think 1%, but 1% of what? Like, what does 1% mean? Like you said, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know how much the cost of acquisition to apply and how much it's going to cost. 1% is great, but if you're selling 100 grand houses and it's £1,000 each time, and it's like 1,800 quid to sell a house, like, you're always going to be in pain point. And I think we as an industry talk so much about the percentage, but actually not the monetary value comes in. And you, every time I've met you recently, you're like, my minimum fee is, and you give the actual monetary figure rather than the percentage.
Yeah.
Do you, that's an interesting one. I mean, what I'm always a bit skeptical of doing on these podcasts is like diving too much into that agent's methods, because I don't want it to be like I said, like, I feel like there's too much advice for estate agents whereby it's like, this is how you do it. There is no, this is how you do it. Do it however you want.
And you 100%, that is one of the most valuable things that any estate agent can understand, is educate your clients into the knowledge that all estate agents are very much not the same. And that is not a conversation that this industry has enough. It's like, we are different.
Unless they are the same.
Yeah.
Like, unless they are literally. But what I mean is, like, you know, because there are some little agents that are not even looking to be different. Like I say, they're attending a conference that says to 1,000 people in attendance, all do this and you'll be better. And they go, right, we will win. And they all go and do that. It's like, how mad is that? It's like they haven't got a business. It's like they still work for a corporate in a way.
Yeah, but it's like, you could say every supermarket's the same. So the tiny little spa shop or Waitrose or the little food hall in Selfridges, that's a little supermarket. Are they all the same? Little cars? They're not all the same. They're all different. So it's like, find your stall, find your customers, niche down your business, get your processes right, and then start marketing to those people, and you will find that the fees will look after themselves.
One of the things that I really love about what you've done there is it feels like from the outside you're not basing your fees on being able to get the seller a better outcome. Of course, like, you know, they want a good outcome because, you know, they've got, like you say, they've got financial objectives. They're trying to get this other house. But it feels like you're also pretty confident in the fact of like, well, if we're going to work for you, we want to be paid regardless of the fucking outcome. Like, I mean, I know obviously we only get paid if we sell it, but let's not get caught up on whether I could, if I make you an extra $7,000, like, I know, like, you know, in the past, like, you know, you may have had that conversation.
Sure, yeah. Used to charge an overage.
Yes,
for a period of time.
Whatever it might be, but it just feels a bit more like you're confident going, look, are you looking for a company that's going to do this work for you? And if you are, then it's me, and we charge this much.
Yeah, that's 100% the conversation. It's like, I mean, even now, and I don't know if it's the delivery or whatever, but very rarely do we even get asked if we negotiate on our fees. Like, clients don't even ask because they're the people. Yeah, and I think it's like they always would feel rude if they did that. It's like, if you want to work with us, these are the problems that you're having. This is the solutions that we've got for those. If you'd like that experience and you'd like to work with us, this is what your investment will be to do that.
Yeah.
If you don't, wonderful. You know, that's absolutely fine. There's plenty of people that you can work with that aren't us, and you know, and maybe, you know, this experience isn't right. I had a client recently who wanted to do part of the process that we do themselves, and I said I love that for you, but it's just not going to work for us. And you know, this is a £1 million plus listing, and she said, but what about the value of our house? And I said, well, the problem is my team is going to end up very, very frustrated working with you because they're going to feel like they're doing half a job because they're not following the process that we've got. And you're going to feel frustrated if we do force our process because you're going to want to do that bit yourself. It's just not going to work. So I said, with all due respect, lovely house, but we can't work together.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, but how did you, like, how does someone get across to that way of thinking? Because there would have been times where you wanted to get across that way of thinking. You're not there yet. And you go on a valuation and you try and do that and you have a bad experience because, like, you know, what, 60 or 50% of all the valuations you go on are not going to go ahead. So one of those you happen to go on and you do this whole, oh, I know my value and blah, blah, blah. And the person just basically says, well, I don't give a shit, piss off. And you think, right, no, that's it. We can't do this. Whatever Laura said, whatever Mark said, whatever Rob said, like, it doesn't work. Not here. Let's go back to, like, you know.
And don't get me wrong, we've had those moments, but there's just a time that turns because you just keep going back to your why all the time. Why are we doing this? What are we representing? You know, the why, all the time, over and over again, and just keep on that. And actually, you'll find and I tell you, it's got nothing to do with the value of the houses. I had some clients and they had relatively low, like under 250k houses, and who would just let me do my thing. They just like love what we do, and they were like, look, here's the keys, your beautiful home, you do what you want. So they let me play about with that, and you know, I've used those as case studies, and then I've marketed those, and this is what we've done for these people. And
that's a good point then. How do you feel like the marketing has changed from, if we go back to when you was working the other way, the traditional way, let's call it? How has the marketing changed? Is it like, do you have to put this sort of stuff in your content? I don't know, how do you try and make sure that, like, the right people are coming down the sort of funnel, if you want to call it?
It is more difficult at this point because I would say that so much business comes word of mouth now. So people have had experience, and you know, that will say, oh, who else are you getting out? And they're like, we're not getting anyone else out. And we say, you know,
But they must be learning about you. They must still be going online and looking at your...
Yeah, I presume so. I mean, we have a lot of Google reviews. We have a lot of, you know, and when we're sat in somebody's house or, you know, we'd been invited to go and have a look at a property, that time that we spend sat with people and we'll have these conversations. And I think because we say something different and because we're not desperate for the business, we want the business, don't get me wrong. We run a business. We need to profit. We need to make money. But at the same time, we're not desperate for any business. It's got to be the right business. And I think that comes across because we will still give advice. And we always say to people, you know, even if we're not the right agent for you and you're struggling later on, pick up the phone. We've worked here for a long time. We know the area. We know the pitfalls of what can happen and what can go. And if you're struggling and you're not quite getting the information that you want, just give us a ring. And we stand by that. And people actually do ring us. And they do come in and go, oh, can you help me with this? This isn't, what do you think? Is that even if, you know, I have people who are selling houses all over the country and they'll go, my agent's doing this, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, you know, you could suggest that they try this, or you could, you know, have you looked at doing this? And I'm like, all right, okay, we'll go back to them with that. And they haven't suggested that. I'm saying, no, they're probably just busy. You know, they don't work the same as we do, but you know,
The bankers.
Do you know what though? It's like not everybody wants what we do though.
No, but I was just thinking in my head, how mad is it, right, that when you look at one of those Rightmove sort of pie charts, probably most companies, not all of them, but a lot of the companies will be getting a 30 to 40% conversion rate. Whatever method they're using, they're getting that 30 to 40% conversion rate. They're just unhappy with the customers that they're getting, the fees that they're getting, the work that they're doing. Well, not everybody is, but some.
Yeah.
And so, like, literally what you're saying is like, why don't you just not work for those people then and still get a 30 or 40% conversion rate working for the people you do and from?
I honestly cannot tell you how amazing my clients are as well. They are the most delightful group of people that we work for. They're so nice. They bring in stuff for the team. They're like pleasant on the phone. They want to know how everyone's holiday.
Because she's niched, niched into that type of, I want to work these people. With very similar conversations here. I was talking to someone about a neuron website a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "But what if I do this bit and this bit and this bit and this bit, we could like do something on the price?" I was like, "No, because the whole thing's going to end in a fucking catastrophe." He was like, "Why?" I was like, "Because we've specifically designed the whole process, and if you do piece A, B, and C, either you're going to end up thinking these lot are idiots, or we're going to end up thinking this guy's an idiot, or probably both, because it hasn't been designed to work that way," which sort of comes back to the customer journey thing, doesn't it? It's like, you've mapped it out. You know how to give a certain type of person a phenomenal service to the point where they are lovely to your team and they really like your company. And anyone who tweaks it, the wrong person coming in, the wrong staff member working in there, or any part of the process going out, kind of ruins that whole thing.
Yeah. We had this solicitor the other day who forgot to send our invoice to the client, so completed on a sale without paying our fees. Third time he's done that, he's quite resentful at the amount of money we charge in comparison to what he charges. And I'm like, charge accordingly. That's absolutely not my fault. The client was mortified and literally was on the phone in minutes asking for our bank details because she'd had such an amazing experience, and because she bought the house from us and we've sold it for her, and she, there was so many hiccups along the way during the sale process, as there always are, that could have resulted in potentially negative reviews or things like that. But because we had the time to spend with her and work through when we're there to advise her, she was absolutely mortified that our fee wasn't paid on time, and we still had it the same day, because literally as soon as it hit her bank account, it was back out to ours. And I just thought, it's just so nice that our clients are so respectful and so grateful of what we're doing and recognise the amount of care that we take with their asset, with their emotional investment that they've spent their whole lives creating or gathering the money together for, and we respect that so much, and they respect what we're doing back. So it's just such a lovely environment to be in.
That's the realization of their vision, right? That the clients are just like, "You guys are brilliant. I forgot to pay. Please, can I come back to give you the money?"
Can I, whatever it was, yeah.
I want to bring it back just to that point of 5-10 minutes ago. We talked about that transition over of going from like old way of doing things to new way of doing things. So a lot of people I speak to say that they struggle with that. You were talking about our no man's land of like, I'm in the abyss. And like how and you say like, I stopped working, going to go back to the old ways.
Right, one day you still
So
do
how
a deal.
was there a period where you were literally like, we were trying to charge higher fees, we've cut down the volume, so the income at the moment, there's no income because there's no loads of fees coming in.
Yes.
I'm still trying to charge it. Was there ever a period that you were thinking like, shit, like,
No.
if we continue this, we're going to run out of money?
No, never at all. But
not mindset wise, but from a business perspective.
no. But the difference was that I created the process before I changed the fees.
Okay, so you literally, rather than going, right, we're going to change our fees, go out there, start charging this with no actual clear direction.
Because I think that's a massive mistake.
Yeah.
Because I think actually you're overvaluing what you do. And I think if you genuinely are not adding value, then don't charge more than it.
And from the process side to it, if someone's thinking, right, okay, I'll actually listen to this, and actually Laura's making sense, it's the first time actually I've probably heard that. When you created that process of going forward, how much do you think of it is like logic and how much do you think of it's emotional in how you're going to help that individual? Because most people go, right, like you said,
Floor plan,
professional photography, we do Matterport, we do Matterport because that's better than Giraffe, and they're going to show them all their list, and then someone's going to still come over it. Yeah, like privilege this.
Yeah.
Like when you look for that process, like how much of it is, would you say, is more emotionally geared up to the logic?
Oh, all emotionally geared up. I'd say 90-10. Just to be honest, I think, yeah, people like our photos. We've got a really good photographer. You know, we do other stuff. We have our process and whatever, but ultimately, people just want to be supported and they want to trust. They don't want to be looking over your shoulders. How many times have you paid for something and then you've gone, yeah, I don't think they're doing a good job with that. And actually, I really trust that are they saying the right things? Are they, and then you're like thinking, well, what am I paying for? And now I wish I hadn't, and actually I could have done it myself. If your clients at any moment are having that chain of thought, you definitely not got your process right. So you need to get your process to where it's a process you would want your mum to have. It's a process you want your best mate to have.
Do you know what was really interesting? Because actually some people I speak to, they say, oh, I've said send out that email to your database. They go, what? But I need to take all my clients out just in case. What happens if they read it? I was like, you got a great problem if it's like, our process on how we sell our houses. Because I said, if they're reading there and they call up, they're not happy, you're doing the.
That's telling them you're going to contact them on this day. We're going to send you whatever, but you're going to be part of this group. You're going to be spoken to every week. I categorically tell my clients when we list their house, we're going to speak to you every week when we speak to that group.
There's amount that is about the experience for which I deliver rather than actually just a list of stuff people down.
People are trying to avoid catastrophe when they're making their decisions. And the more that you can reassure them that they're going to avoid catastrophe, the more they'll be like, that sounds quite good. Our floor plan doesn't in any way make me feel like I'm going to avoid catastrophe.
I think our floor plan, I can't think of what I could compare that to, but it's just like...
It's just a standard thing. It's like saying, if you fly with us, there will be a pilot.
There'll be seatbelts.
There will be. You will get a back to your seat. Yeah, you won't be on a stool. Your luggage will arrive at the other end.
I've got another question before we probably wrap up. What would you say you've learned in a leadership position? What have you learned about yourself the most in this transition? Like, what have you? Whether that's I've learned this outside, internally, I've listened to this. Like, what would you say has probably changed?
I am accountable in every single situation that I have come across in my life. That is what I've learned, and I have input in that. Good, bad, whenever, I'm accountable. And within my business, every single problem is a leadership problem.
Yeah, so true. Like that. That's so good. Right. Any other questions? I could go on forever. We'll have to do another podcast soon. But yeah, thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed, and then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.